Let's quickly break down the voting process. First, you have to make sure that you are registered. And most people, when they register when they receive their driver's license when they're 18 years old. It's an automatic registration. Unfortunately, not everyone gets to do that. So I want everyone to go on a website called iwillvote.com. And this is the way that you can check out your registration, make sure it's up to date. If you've moved, if you've gotten married and got a name change, you can check everything and just make sure that you are registered to vote. You can also check out the forms of identification that you might need when you show up at the polls. Traditionally, you wouldn't need any form of identification. You would just go, you would give your name, and they would look up your name on the list, and then you would be able to vote. But with the repeal of the Voting Rights Act, several states have started requiring driver's license or IDs or your voter registration card when you show up. So you just need to really make sure that you look up what your state's requirements are. Next, you would have to check and see if your state has early voting. For example, in the state of Maryland, you can vote early from October 27th through November 3rd. So this works out for people who may have to work all day on Tuesday and can't get away from their office to go to the polls and vote. Or if you only have time on the weekends to go vote. Or, for example, people in my industry, like I'm going to be out of state actually, working the polls, and I'm not going to be able to vote in my state on election day. This is a very, very great resource to take advantage of. Also, other states do absentee ballots. Like, for example, when I was in college in Maryland, I did an absentee ballot for New Jersey, and I voted in the election that way. But there are states like, for example, Pennsylvania, where I'm going to be on election day, where you can only vote on election day. And if you want to do an absentee ballot, you have to either be a member of the military or you have to have some kind of really great excuse for why you need an absentee ballot. So you really want to make sure that you are registered and that you know how to vote and when you will vote. The next thing that you should probably pay attention to is what happens after you vote. So a lot of Americans don't know this, but when you go vote, you're actually voting for a representative that will cast their vote in the Electoral College. So what happens is there are a number of electors, and each state gets electors based on their members of Congress. So for example, the state that I live in now is Maryland, and we have 8 members of Congress and 2 senators. So 8 representatives and 2 senators. So we get 10 electors. So everyone goes and votes on election day, and the state gets the popular vote. And then your electors meet up, and then they all cast their vote based on the popular vote. And then that creates the Electoral College. And whoever has the most votes, which is the golden number is 270, wins the overall presidential election. Now, a lot of people have said that the Electoral College needs to be done away with. The original point of the Electoral College was because way back when we first started voting for president, they were not able to record the ballots as fast as they can now. So they needed the Electoral College to come together just to basically say, everybody from my town is voting for Johnson. Everybody from my town is voting for Peters. Everybody from my town is voting for Smith. And then they would all come together and they would cast their ballots based on where everyone is from their town is voting for, and then that's how they would decide the presidency. So fast forward to the year 2016, or even the year 2000, the very controversial election of 2000. Now we are able to count the popular vote as it comes in, and you can really record exactly how each state is going to vote in the popular vote. You don't necessarily need the Electoral College. And that is the way that in 2000, Al Gore won the popular vote unanimously. But Governor Bush won the Electoral College because somehow he was able to win the state of Florida. Now, there's a lot that goes into that with how the ballots were counted, but that's a whole nother story. But in 2000, Governor Bush won the state of Florida based on the Electoral College, even though Al Gore won the popular vote. And a lot of Democrats have not been the same ever since. When you do an absentee ballot, it is counted, but most of the time it is counted when the race is very, very close. So if the absentee ballots will be opened if the popular vote is so close that they cannot tell down to the percentage. For example, in the state of Louisiana in 2014, they had to have a runoff election for the Senate because after even counting all the absentee ballots, it was just too close to call. So that's most of the time when absentee ballots are counted. So you could say that your vote doesn't count if you do an absentee ballot, but when it comes to crunch time, your vote will be the deciding factor in a lot of cases. Important dates that you need to be paying attention to between now and election day are: number one, voting registration day is on September 27th. A lot of organizations have already been registering people to vote ever since, the presidential election cycle started. But on September 27th, a lot of organizations are going to be collaborating, and it's going to be a national push to register people to vote because each state has different guidelines for when you can stop registering to vote. For example, Pennsylvania is as early as October 11th. Maryland is as late as October 18th. You can even register in person on November 3rd. But on September 27th, everyone's going to be doing a national push to get everyone registered to vote. Other important dates are the dates of the presidential debates. The presidential debates are going to be neat to see TV. Clinton versus Trump. They are expecting Super Bowl viewing numbers for these debates. The first debate is September 26th. This is the day before National Voter Registration Day. The next debate is going to be on October 9th, and the third and final presidential debate will be on October 19th. And the only vice presidential debate will be on October 4th. In July, I had the pleasure of attending the Democratic National Convention in Philadelphia. It was actually my first convention. I had the time of my life. And then over the past weekend, I actually had the opportunity to attend a session for Congressional Black Caucus Weekend. And the sessions that I went to were centered around the importance of getting Black people, and especially young Black people, out to the polls. And the major takeaway that I would like to have from all of that is to just feel empowered. Your vote is your power. Every day unfortunately, we watch on the news another Black person getting killed by the police or getting wrongfully imprisoned or just being harassed. And if you want these things to change, then you need to realize your power, and your power is in your vote. This means that, a fact of the matter is African American women specifically are a major part of the electorate. President Obama would not have won the election if it were not for young people, African Americans, and African American women. And Hillary Clinton would only win if she gets that same support. And that's something that I learned from a Democratic pollster yesterday. A lot of the Republican base are older white people, and the Democrats have not been able to reach out to those voters. The voters that have been the most consistent, the most reliable, have been African Americans and young people. And I say that to also say that we need to hold the Democrats accountable. We need to call them out on when their agenda is not reflective of the people that support them. For example, criminal justice reform. Hillary Clinton has actually mapped out a very great plan for criminal justice. You should visit her website and check it out. But we need to make sure that our local politicians and everyone from the bottom up are paying attention to our issues, because we are the ones that elect them to office, and we are the ones that they take for granted and count on when it comes to election day. So know that when you vote, you are the most powerful demographic. Your vote is your power, and you should be empowered to exercise your right every chance you can get.